More logical fallacies in JW evolution literature. I can't believe it. We're continuing our discussion on 5 questions that we're supposed to be asking. And I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Timewaster. She is our study guide this evening and every evening. Hello, Dr. Timewaster.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. This was a show originally started to read Jehovah's Witness literature on evolution, and we're right back at it, folks. What can I say? We found something new, and we're reading ish. Welcome. Thank you for the introduction, Ryan. Welcome, Alpha Sub. Unfortunately, Tyler Rickshaw will be punished by Jehovah for not showing up tonight.
Absolutely. It's already happened.
Show up in the comments, but we'll see.
Not going to hell because there is no hell, but he's definitely not going to be one of the 144,000. We'll say that.
Right. He's not the chosen few. He's not the little flock.
I don't know. You don't know.
Oh, I know. One of the 144,000.
What if he really, truly believes that he is? Who are you to say?
Oh, that's different.
Well, welcome, everybody. We are going to continue to talk about chapter 2 of this brochure. What was it called? Something about life? Fuck.
Origin of life, 5 questions worth asking.
Origin of life, 5 questions worth asking.
Look at that.
Yes.
Original.
So, yeah, okay. I feel like I should just be upfront here. Did I read this chapter all week and study this all week? Would you guys like at any point to see my notes? Yeah, you probably should, because it'll make me feel good for taking them.
We should witness. We need to bear witness and suffering.
You know, I'd give them credit for making me, get the idea, the concept of studying hard, and I definitely like the idea of writing in the margins and highlighting. I like that kind of studying, but now I actually know what to look for and how to critically analyze the information I'm getting and actually study instead of just going through the motions. So, but anyways, yeah. So as we read through this, I would read their questions and go through it and just try and genuinely answer them from what I can find from resources that I can gather instead of the ones that they found. I did look at some of their resources. I actually found a good resource of somebody else who went through every one of these resources and broke it down. So I should have mentioned that earlier and shared that with you, Ryan, so that we could put it in the chatter.
Yeah.
On the tube or something. Anyway, it's a great PDF. This guy actually worked hard and broke down all the resources. So you don't have to, because let me tell you, some of them were impossible to find without like paying for them. And I was like, I'm not going to pay for that.
Just send it to me after and I'll include it.
Okay.
I'll include the links so people can take a look. I want to take a little look-see myself.
Yeah. So I guess long story short, I have my own breakdown of a lot of the questions that they have. And so if we're bored reading this, I'm prepared to make this maybe a little, just, let's give ourselves some credit here and be more interested in some of the answers here than what Jehovah's Witnesses think that we are. Because I think as you read through this, you'll notice that not only is this written maybe for like a, I don't know, 2nd grade or 3rd grade, like biology class. But like, could they have made biology any less fascinating? Like, I'm bored. Like, biology sounds really boring, the reading through this. And so I just kept getting the feeling like that was the point, like disinterest. We're right, they're wrong, but you don't
need to. Intentional. Everything's intentional.
So I don't want to taint your opinions on it, but I will.
Taint me away.
Taint them. Taint. Anyways, so how about we do this? Do you want to read? Hey, Jay. Hey, everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm everywhere. Okay.
It's
It's been
okay.
a
You're
busy
the
week.
study leader. You're the conductor. You're leading the train.
Welcome to the chaotic life of a person.
A
Who
person.
cares?
This wasn't the
A real
doctor,
person.
okay? Just-
A real person. An imperfect person who is trying very hard. Okay. Alpha Sub, you read a lot last time. Do you want to just read that first section at the top there?
Is this
it
where we
easier to
are?
read from the PDF or that's fine. He's got the real paper.
Oh, that's right. Where did you send me that? I
You
downloaded
can
it.
hit the download button at the top. You probably
Yeah, that's right. I did download it.
Oh, okay. So I cut off right as soon as you said I read a lot.
Oh, yeah, you already said that you would read the whole thing for us. So I'm just kidding.
Oh, did I? Well, I was. I got
Is that what I did?
Is that what I did? No, you didn't do that.
Is that what I did?
I can share mine if you want, but you've got my scribbles all over it. Oh, you go. Okay. A cool worldly person. This is the worldly perspective, sort of, right? Or are we not calling ourselves that anymore? I can't remember.
Oh, no, it is the worldly perspective.
cool.
I did forget to I did mean to mention it, but
We had a title at one point. It's fine. We kind of tried. We try to try.
I still include it in the description.
All right. Can it zoom in a little more?
Yes. Is that good?
Yeah, I can read it.
Yeah, you sure? Can't fit a
You
lot.
guys, let us know if you guys can't see it. Oh, you can make it. Oh, you can make it
There
better.
we go. There we go. Now we got the full picture.
Wait, where did Alpha Sub go?
There we go.
Connection.
Here he comes.
There he is.
I don't know. I might be having bad internet tonight. I'm not sure.
All right.
Jehovah's just testing you in your faith.
Yes, he is. I'm gonna hold strong, sisters.
That's right.
Hold tight. Put on that arm. What are your new armor?
My new armor.
Or your personality, whatever the hell you're supposed to put on.
Your mask.
Jehovah's autism mask.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
remember that, Mark.
Yeah. That's the one.
I think you were saying before I.
Oh, would you like to just go ahead and read that first 2 paragraphs, and then I'm going to stop you and I'm going to say something because I want to give people the chance to.
Sounds good. So,
Rebut.
is any form of life really simple? Your body is one of the most complex structures in the universe. It is made up of some 100 trillion tiny cells, bone cells, blood cells, brain cells, to name a few. In fact, there are more than 200 different types of cells in your body. Despite their amazing diversity in shape and function, your cells form an intricate, integrated network. The internet, with its millions of computers and high-speed data cables, is clumsy in comparison. No human invention can compete with the technical brilliance evident in even the most basic of cells. How did the cells that make up the human body come into existence?
Wow. What do you guys think about that so far?
Well, I definitely agree that no human invention can compete with the technical brilliance evident in the most basic of cells. I have to agree.
About quantum
Concur.
computing.
Yeah, I did highlight the words invention and brilliance and evident.
Okay.
Because I think those are very specifically chosen words to continue a narrative that they have that I think you're going to see as we go through this whole chapter.
Very agendized.
Right. Well, and they're specifically talking about intelligence, right? And brilliance. Evident is to show you that this is obviously this way. And it's I think a little gaslighty because I believe as we go through this, we're going to find that they have little evidence to support their claims. And then invention is also a specific word that's supposed to bring you back to the idea of creation. And so they're constantly going to keep bringing this back to a person or an intelligent being creating things. And in addition to that, I also highlighted at the top or at the bottom of the top paragraph where it says 200 types of cells in your body. And I was like, that's it? I had to go look it up.
Right.
So I'm like, well, like there's 200 different kinds of cells of like, depends on how you want to count it, but there's so many different stages of cell as well. Like you have your complete, as we know it, cell, but there were potentially many different phases of that cell as it grew into it. You've ever heard of stem cells?
Mm-hmm.
What are stem cells?
I don't even know. That's the stem of a cell.
I think stem cells are what the very first cells that are turning into a human being, I believe.
Yeah, because
Like
what is
the
a human
fetus.
egg before it's fertilized?
What is a human
A single
egg?
cell.
It's what?
A single cell.
It's a single cell with some DNA in there, right? Like it's a cell with information packed inside, as is a sperm cell. And so when the two exchange DNA, it's a single cell that then divides. So we start off as technically one cell. So we evolved from one cell into what we are today. So there's 200 types of cells maybe in our body here, but there's also a spectrum of variance from person to person. Maybe some people don't make a certain kind of cell. There's a lot of diseases for that. And we call disease things that aren't the norm that results in a shorter lifespan, basically. But really, disease is just evidence of evolution happening all around us. Our bodies are slightly different. They metabolize things slightly differently from person to person to person. Nothing is perfectly exactly identical the same. Even identical twins, as
Right.
more remarkable as it is that they're so identical, there's still some differences, right? Like,
You'd find it. You'd find
right.
them.
So anyways, I just want to point out this other piece. So I talked about how they specifically bring back intelligence, design, inventing things. You're stupid if you don't see this.
That's what
But
they gaslight
also,
you into believe.
they're going to talk about how complex and amazing everything is and how nothing is simple. And nothing can be simple and just happen to be. But in order to make that argument, I feel that they oversimplify the whole process and they fail to show you how complex it really is. Because what I just told you in this, 5-minute rant before we've even gotten into the first section, you probably learned more than you will reading anything else. I don't know. You tell me. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean,
I don't doubt it.
But my goal here is to actually teach you guys some actual facts about biology as we go through. And then you can kind of, I don't know, just work it through with me and we can see if we still agree with the absurdity of evolution or if maybe it's a little bit more complicated and a little bit more interesting and a little bit more curiosity about the subject. So anyways, that's all I have to say. Does anybody have anything to add?
I don't think so. I didn't mean to scroll past. Was there anything that you had, Alpha Sub?
Nope.
No?
I'm
Really?
ready
Nothing
to
else you want to
continue.
say about the top part of that illustration?
Top part of which illustration?
I'm wondering about the nipple cell.
The
Nipple.
bone cell that kind of spirals out.
Oh, that's an interesting little this section right here. It reminds me of something.
I've already forgotten. I'm going to be completely honest.
I had made a joke behind stage.
How
I
can you
know what you're
forget?
talking about, but I've forgotten what it was.
I made reference to the rods and cones.
Oh yeah, that's
And their particular shape. I said rods and cones, his and hers. Never, it doesn't matter.
right. Yeah, the butt plug and the dildo on the side, under eye cells.
If you have to
Right.
explain the joke, it's not funny.
Boo.
I mean, go just scroll back up and let's take a look at it.
We looked.
No. Go back because it's actually not a butt plug and dildo. It's a butt plug and something else. It's a butt plug and a pregnancy test is the left.
A paddle.
Or
I
paddle.
was
Yep,
thinking paddle.
that's actually right. That's paddle. So
That's
we've
what I
got
was thinking.
pregnant
Paddle.
cells on top and then kink cells under that.
Right.
I think so.
Okay, this next chapter, they say 3 words that I could not agree with more.
Oh,
You want to keep reading, or
Sure. And
okay?
what do
You
many
can
scientists
just
claim?
go to the next section.
What do many scientists claim, or
Yeah. Oh, just do the section. What do many scientists claim?
okay? What do many scientists claim? All living cells fall into 2 major categories: those with a nucleus and those without. Human, animal, and plant cells have a nucleus. Bacterial cells do not. Cells with a nucleus are called eukaryotic. Those without a nucleus are known as prokaryotic. Since prokaryotic cells are relatively less complex than eukaryotic cells, many believe that animal and plant cells must have evolved from bacterial cells. In fact, many teach that for millions of years, some simple prokaryotic cells swallowed other cells but did not digest them. Instead, the theory goes, unintelligent nature figured out a way not only to make radical changes in the function of the indented cells, but also to keep the adapted cells inside of the host cell when it replicated.
Bill? like
How
that
did the
part.
cells that make up the human body come into existence? Wait, no. Is that the right? No, that was the last question. I'm sorry. I didn't scroll up. What's the question they ask? Or they don't ask a question?
I don't think they asked a question.
I don't think they.
Okay, I'm sorry. What do many scientists claim? That's the question. Sorry, I knew there was a question somewhere. I read the wrong line. So in this section, they quoted one scientist. Just gonna point that out there. Encyclopedia Britannica, I think, is what they cited. So that's what many scientists claim. But the words I wanted to point out that I highlighted was in that first paragraph where they say those without a nucleus are known as prokaryotic. Since prokaryotic cells are relatively less complex than eukaryotic cells, many believe that animal cells and plant cells must have evolved from bacterial cells. So relatively less complex is the phrase. Like, that's the key phrase that you guys should keep in mind. Because
relatively less complex.
As they go through here and they start talking about how nothing is simple and everything is complicated. If everything is complicated, then nothing is complicated. Like, how do you differentiate from any one thing than another? You'd have to say everything is equally complicated. Or you start to differentiate from varying degrees of complex. How's it complex? Well, I don't know. This cell has a nucleus and this one doesn't. You start, well, what else do we call it? Well, if we don't call it complex, what else can we call it? I don't know. It's a bad argument, and they've already ruined the argument right here because they say it. And I don't think they're quoting anyone. I think they're making this statement, right? I don't see any quote marks. So they're saying since prokaryotic cells are relatively less complex.
They are the ones who are making this.
Oh,
Uh-oh. His connection was
I
getting bad.
blew his mind.
It was. We've got to resurrect him. Don't worry. He'll come back.
Resurrect. Anyways, I just want you guys to see that. That's all. I'm just gonna end it there. But there's a lot of evidence suggests that prokaryotes preceded all eukaryotic life from fossil evidence. There's fossils of single-celled organisms. We are talking STEM. Yes. I am being a nerd today, and you are all going to enjoy it.
I like it.
We lost Alpha Sub, though. Oh, there was something over in the side. It says, could the more than 200 different kinds of cells that make up your body really form by accident?
Oh, right here. Yeah.
Yeah. Could it really do
Here it
that?
comes.
I mean, you have to kind of ask the question in a really snarky way because I feel like that's what's implied.
Yeah, like you're doing that really.
Yeah, really. We're talking about how 200 different kinds of cells couldn't possibly have formed by accident. But as I described earlier, they didn't like just form by accident. There's a mechanism, and they will explain it later on how everything actually came into existence. We can see it with those stem cells. We can see it with those stem cells and how they eventually change into every cell that we have in our body. So, anyways, it's also kind of an irrelevant question.
Here's a question for you. I don't know if you
but
know
here's
this
how it
or
works.
not, but at what point after the sperm cell meets the egg cell is the first stem cell produced?
So if you really want to know this answer, I would direct you to my college biology book that I've been using to look up all these answers. This book was printed in 2008 when I took my junior level biology class. Yeah, there's a lot of detail that goes in it, and basically they call them different types of cells based on how many there are, and then the shape they make, and then as they differentiate. And so I don't know if they're technically all a stem cell at that point. Like I don't know where they define it and where the cells start to differentiate. That fine little piece of that, I don't actually know, but like what are they called? Like multipotent, pluripotent. At some point they call blastula and glastula or something, and then they turn into a ball. Then they invaginate and become two balls, and then
Invaginate.
Invaginate.
That is the term when it goes and then pinch off. I didn't create the word, you know.
I'm definitely going to look for an excuse to use it in the future now that I know it.
Sperm are alive, and that is why you should not spill it.
Every sperm is sacred.
I mean, sperm are alive. They are a cell.
I mean, define alive. A sperm cell can't replicate on its own.
Well. I mean, is a sperm not life?
Well, while you ponder that, we can move on.
Yeah.
We're going with cell theory, and then... All right, I guess go ahead and move on. Viruses aren't life. I know this. They don't reproduce on their own.
So this section was what do many scientists claim, and I don't really know what they're saying. That they claim that simple cells we're before more complicated cells and more complicated and more complicated, and things tend to kind of drift that way. Maybe that's what they quoted an encyclopedia on. Okay.
They're saying that eukaryotic cells came from prokaryotic cells, I guess.
I mean, there's certainly a lot of cool hypothesis about mitochondria being two different kinds of cells that then merged and became a symbiotic relationship. What's next? Oh, we can skip this. What does the Bible say? I'll just shorten it for you. They quote two sources, Psalms and Hebrews. Psalms basically just said God made everything. And the Hebrews verse says, a house has a builder, God therefore a builder. You're welcome. They also cited two sources for this paragraph and only one for all the rest, but one of them doesn't have any sources. So,
what does the Quran and the Avesta say?
It's a good question. I would be more interested in finding that out than what the Bible does, but I've heard that story.
Right. When you've heard it a million times, you're not so
I
interested
don't know
anymore.
what the Quran says.
I'm sure it's very similar to what the Bible says, probably.
God did it.
Right.
All right. What does the evidence reveal? Oh, now we're going to get down to it. I'm sure they'll pack it full of lots of evidence.
Mm-hmm. Get ready for it.
Does somebody else want to read, or do you want me to continue?
You want me to read?
Why don't you give me a break for a second?
Okay. I'm just reading this section.
Sure. Yeah.
What does the evidence reveal? Advances in microbiology have made it possible to peer into the awe-inspiring interior of the simplest living prokaryotic. How do I say it? Prokaryotic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Prokaryotic cells known. Evolutionary scientists theorize that the first living cell must have looked something like these cells. If the theory of evolution is true, it should offer a plausible explanation of how the first simple cell formed by chance. On the other hand, if life was created, there should be evidence of ingenious design even in the smallest of creatures. Why not take a tour of a prokaryotic cell? As you do so, ask yourself whether such a cell could arise by chance. Okay.
I mean, I guess you could ask yourself that. I don't think, do we have enough understanding and skill yet to determine the odds of arising by chance? I mean, certainly not from this article.
Exactly. What do they think could arise by chance? What do they
Right. I don't think I have the skill set to be able to accurately determine that.
Right.
I certainly don't.
By the way, prokaryotic cells. Oh, is that me? Echo.
You're echoing.
Uh-oh.
Is that me?
I don't know. I don't hear anything.
Oh, but can you hear it now? I can hear it.
Count to 10.
1, 2, 5, 10, 7.
Testing.
I think it's better.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's better.
Fine now.
I forgot what I was going to say now. Damn it.
Sorry. Oopies.
Ask yourself whether such a cell could arise by chance.
Ask yourself.
Well, I think anything can arise by quote-unquote chance, because if you have infinite time and infinite things happening, everything will happen by chance. It's me? Why do I sound like
I muted myself. It's not me.
Is it me?
Am I the problem?
Am I the problem? I think it might be Ryan.
Oh.
I did mute myself. Why am I all of a sudden a problem? What the hell?
The problem.
Wonder
it's only
why.
me that I hear echoing now in the background of your video, though.
Well,
I'll turn my volume down a little bit.
The devil has been really interacting with us tonight and trying to put a stop to the stream. He knows what we're doing.
Oh, I had a note just really quick to go back up to the paragraph that's at the top of this page. At the end of it, they have a like asterisk. Let's see
Here?
what. Yeah, they're talking about how instead the theory goes unintelligent nature found out a way, discovered, this which also implies intelligence. Figuring out something is an intelligent thing to do. Figuring out a way to make radical changes in the function of the ingested cell, but also keep the adapted cell inside of the host when replicated. And so they're trying to imply like a grand design and a plan that when it's not what it's, what did I say? Oh, they're backwards engineering everything. So they're saying they're reverse engineering it, and they're saying this is how it is always meant to be. But what they don't understand is like things have been changing. Like the cells back then aren't the same that they are today. They might have been simple cells, but there could be differences about them. And anyway, the asterisks they have at the bottom, if you go back to the bottom of the page, that's why I saw it. There's the asterisk there, and it says, no experimental evidence exists to show that such an event is possible. But I like went and looked it up, and I found a link to sciencedirect.com where they've got quite a few, several articles and examples with evidence of what they call serial endosymbiotic theory. And it's a theory that has more evidence to support it than the existence of God. Because basically it's the idea that like a cell could engulf another cell and they could live symbiotically inside, you know, like one could be inside of the other. And it's because one might get protection from the other while maybe making a substance that is beneficial to the other, right? Like if it generates energy, which is what mitochondria does, then if you have a cell specifically that's generating energy, then you don't have to work as hard to get energy, and you have more energy available to do more things. So if you have excess energy, if somebody has excess money, do they just sit on it and never do anything with it and continue to do the same old, same old? No, they blow their wad. They go and buy new things. And they, you know, you get and you obtain more things. So when you have more, you spend more. Same with energy, same, you know, on a cellular level, this could be a hugely advantageous thing to spawn, I don't know, a whole completely different type of cell type. So I found a lot of examples for it is all I was going to say. It's just annoying. Like, see, nothing. They just made a statement. If we just say something that's totally sounds good, but I don't have to back it up, then people will just believe it and not look into it any further. That's what happens with anything that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. He just says it with so much confidence. People are going to believe that he couldn't possibly be lying. Do you remember when people like, well, it was on TV, so it must be true. It was printed in a newspaper article, so it must be true. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of that.
Anyway.
Especially specific like articles and whatnot, if it comes from a certain trusted source, it's gold.
Yes, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And now you know why.
My mind. Do you know what I was going to say? Or are you talking to somebody else? Oh,
no, the comment. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
I was just getting ready to say the powerhouse of the cell. I was waiting for y'all to stop talking, and somebody just beat me to it.
Sorry.
Wouldn't even listen to what y'all saying. I just wanted to say the mitochondria is powerhouse of the cell.
You still get credit for it.
Thanks.
I believe you.
That. I need the credit. Thanks, our trash.
All right. Do you want me to read again, or do you? I mean, oh, this one's long. You sure
you want to read? Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You said you want to read.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. So the last one I think had an article, a reference in the what does the evidence reveal, and I meant to tell you what that was really quick. Hold on a second. Oh, where am I? It was, oh, I wasn't able to obtain it, so I didn't read it. I'm sure it was amazing. Anyways, okay, I'll move on. The cell's protective wall. To tour a prokaryotic cell, you would have to shrink to the. You would have to shrink. Honey, I shrunk you to it hundreds of times smaller than the period at the end of the sentence.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Keeping you out of the cell is tough. Flexible membranes of the cell. Oh wait, flexible membranes that act like a brick and mortar surround a factory. It would take some 10,000 layers of this membrane to equal the thickness of a sheet of paper. Totally useless fact. But the membrane of a cell is much more sophisticated than a brick wall. In what ways?
Shut the fuck up.
I made an analogy. Now tell me, how is my analogy wrong?
Shut the fuck.
Okay.
That does sound like something the second grade, like a brick wall compared to the membrane of a cell. What's the difference?
I do have materials to show you how they're made, what they're made of at every level. If you would like, I can share my notes in a more.
Oh, sorry, that was not intentional. I clicked too many times.
Anyways, yes, I do have an answer to that question. If you guys want to talk about it, well, we can keep going. Like the wall surrounding a factory, which they've already said, this is a factory. The membrane of a cell shields the contents from potentially hostile environment. However, the membrane is not solid. It allows the cell to breathe, permitting small molecules such as oxygen to pass in or out. But the membrane blocks more complex. Ooh, more complex. You mean they're not all the same?
Not all the same complexity?
Potentially damaging molecules from entering without the cell's permission. Sentient. These are sentient cells. What if cells are sentient and we're just the universe that they live in and we're their God?
Oh.
Okay, anyway. The membrane also prevents the membrane also prevents useful molecules from leaving the cell. You're trapped. You fuckers can't leave. How does the membrane manage such feats? Mostly passive with transporters, ion channels. There's a lot of protein channels. There's proteins mixed with carbs. There's proteins mixed with lipids. They form different kinds of shapes and holes and blockages. And
is this asking how osmosis works?
Osmosis is pretty passive.
Right.
As long as you have a semi-permeable membrane, meaning things can go one direction and not the other, usually water, the flow of water.
Would a mesh screen be a fully permeable membrane?
Depends on the size of the particles, I suppose. But yeah, what you're describing is what I would call a concentration gradient, and it drives a great deal of how cells function.
Right.
So this biology book, it talks about like just a simple bacteria cell, and how when it splits and becomes two, and then once it's basically a fresh new cell, there's certain reactions that happen after it's just been formed that basically polarize the cell. So one end will have a different like charge basically, and that drives certain things to certain places. And anyway, concentration gradients are one way for cells to communicate, for things to move. Like there's basically physics can be a lot different when you're at smaller scales. So think of us at a scale, think of the galaxy at a different scale, think of microscopic things as another scale. Like water tension is totally different on the scale of a small bug versus us versus a microscopic bacterium, right? Like physics is just different for them. So yeah, anyway, I can keep talking. I'll shut up, but
Setting shit up.
We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
anyway,
see
a
how much we'll
membrane
go
of a
through.
cell really isn't like a brick and mortar. It's nothing like a brick and mortar. It's a phospholipid,
Bilayer.
and they just like zip together and they link all up and they just naturally form these little sheets that then sometimes turn into bubbles. But DNA changes that story, so we'll get to that later.
Phospholipid is a fat.
Oh wait, where are we?
It's that right there. If you scroll back down just a smidge, see that diagram? That you see that double layer that the things are in? Like it looks like a head with little legs and they're all like stacked up and it lines the outer cell. That's the cell wall.
Mm.
And then the blue, the orange, the green, those are proteins that are supposed to demonstrate the transport ion channels and molecule transporters that line the cell that are sentient, like a bouncer at a club who's like, let me see your ID. Telling you,
individual
cells
divisions,
can
and
be
they have
like
their own little
cities.
society down there.
Yeah, they got their own little like laws and rules.
And they wear a little hat.
But a phospholipid bilayer is just a lipid molecule mixed with a phosphate head piece that looks just like those and has a specific shape. And what we say in biology is shape or form dictates function. So when you're a certain shape, you have a certain function. That be that.
That's
Okay.
how that be.
How that be. Okay, I promise I'll finish reading this. Think again of a factory. It might have security guards who monitor. I prefer the idea instead of security guards who monitor the products that enter and leave through doorways in the factory wall. I prefer the analogy of a computer with like password protected files because it takes out, again, that sentience. Because they put it there, is all I'm saying. Similarly, the cell membrane has special protein molecules embedded in it that act like doors, and the security guards. Some of these proteins, have a hole. Yeah, they do. Through the middle of them, that allows only specific types of molecules in and out of the cell. Other proteins are open on one side of the cell, yeah, they are, and close on the other. Sorry. It's so much fun to do this.
They
Okay.
have a docking site.
They have a
If y'all don't know what
docking site.
docking is, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, continue.
Dock that right here. Shaped perfectly to fit a specific substance. When that substance docks, the other end of the protein opens and releases the cargo through the membrane. Wink, wink,
Wow.
nudge, nudge.
This is very sexy book here.
All this activity is happening on the surface of even the simplest cells.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Anyways.
Membranes, docking.
Insane in the membrane.
Insane in the brain. Yeah. Let's see. Just more. I think I already said everything up there. What I was gonna say. Oh, I thought it was funny. They said I have a hole. Like it's so much more cool than that. Some have a hole. I highlighted the section that said the last sentence that says all this activity is happening on the surface of even the simplest cell, which is way more detail than even what they're saying. I say that's proof of evolution because this fact demonstrates how all more complex cells evolved after and from those that came before them. Basic cell wall barrier and purpose was passed down to all cell types in some variation, avoiding reinventing the wheel, essentially. So DNA is data that gets passed down to us from cell to cell. Why reinvent the wheel if it happened once and you can capture that? Just repeat. Sorry. Just read the comments.
I haven't checked in like 15 minutes, so I don't know.
My whole superior. Yeah. So, oh, what am I doing? Cancel. Oh, yeah, I gotta show you guys stuff. Okay, hold on. Hold on. You won't be mad at me, I promise. Yes, you will. I'm gonna try and make this. Here's an example that I have. And if you recognize this at all, it should look like DNA or nucleotides. What it is it's various different humans, mouse, fish, blah blah blah, bacteria, and they're showing the differences of the codes for a very specific gene, a gene that all of us share. And so what it's doing, oh, where did I go? What it's doing is demonstrating how much of the DNA that we share that are basically just copy paste with one tiny thing different. Copy paste, right? And over time, it's just those kinds of little things that lead to what you see. And if you reverse engineer it from what we see to what this means, it seems way more prophetic than, oh, something just kind of changed. There was a blip in the radar, and then downstream it caused a problem that changed something that maybe was adaptable or not adaptable. Anyway. I don't know if that code's supposed to mean something, but I approve. Okay.
69 24/7.
Oh, damn it. Okay, don't worry. I'm very literal.
That is God code, though.
Yeah,
Not gonna lie.
I mean, I've probably said God more from that code, but yeah. All right, that's all I got for that. Does somebody else want to explore the factory?
Oh, yeah.
Inside the factory.
Let's see how dirty you
I
can make it.
can go back to reading if you would like me to.
Okay, but make it dirty.
Oh, make it dirty. I don't know about that.
Okay, just read it then.
Inside the factory, imagine that you have been allowed past the security guard and now inside the cell. The interior of a prokaryotic cell is filled with a watery fluid that is rich in nutrients, salts, and other substances. The cell uses these raw ingredients to manufacture the products it needs, but the process is not haphazard. Like an efficiently run factory, the cell organizes thousands of chemical reactions so that they take place in a specific order and according to a set timetable. A cell spends a lot of its time making proteins. How does it do so? First, you would see the cell make about 20 different basic building blocks called amino acids. These building blocks are delivered to the ribosomes, which may be likened to automated machines that link the amino acids in a precise order to form a specific protein. Just as the operations of a factory might be governed by a central computer program, many of the functions of a cell are governed by a computer program or code known as DNA. From the DNA, the ribosome receives a copy of detailed instructions that tell it which protein to build and how to build it. What happens as the protein is made is nothing short of amazing. Each one folds into a unique three-dimensional shape. It is this shape that determines the specialized job the protein will do. Picture a production line where engine parts are being assembled. Each part needs to be precisely constructed if the engine is to work. Similarly, if a protein is not precisely constructed and not folded to exactly the right shape, it will not be able to do its work properly and may even damage the cell. How does the protein find its way from where it was made to where it is needed? Each protein the cell makes has a built-in address tag that ensures that the protein will be delivered to where it is needed. Although thousands of proteins are built and delivered each minute, each one arrives at the correct destination. I do want to say, it mentions in here that just as the operations of a factory might be governed by a central computer program, many of the functions of a cell are governed by a computer program or code, known as DNA. I want to say that DNA is not a computer program or a code. It is chemicals that we later interpret as a code. That is our own interpretation of it. That is not how it works exactly. It is just chemical
I'm willing
reactions.
to concede that it functions.
As a code?
It has it that it is stored data, that it does code for certain things, because I don't know if they go into it. Chapter 3 is basically a little bit more about DNA, but I haven't read it really yet. DNA is matter. Basically, your DNA is made up of nucleotide codes for the different nucleotides, that then when you string 3 of them together, like they all string together, what happens is then as the DNA is being read it gets copied, and as it then gets read by the protein machine, it goes in 3s, and so it reads, there's a start, they call them codons. That's why I'm conceding to the concept of a code.
Right.
You get your start signal, which is of 3 very specific sequence, and then it has to be in a certain part of the DNA. Like obviously that code can repeat later, but it has to, anyway. If it's at the very beginning of it, as it goes, it just start, and then it reads until it hears stop, and then it stops copying it, and then it takes that little piece from start to stop, and then takes it off, and then that gets then different proteins can kind of get, or amino acids, different
Sounds
amino
like
acids are
Jehovah's
attracted
Unit
to
then.
the different codes. It is chemistry, as you say, but chemistry is a very fascinating thing, also on a different scale. Physics is different, but the laws of attraction within that kind of scale and chemistry, there's a lot of things that are pretty predictable, and there's some things we don't really yet know how they work, but it seems to me it's pretty obvious, like could be a sort of magnet for certain types of amino acids, and then they sequence together, and then they become a protein, a polymer, but a protein. Yes, yes.
Talking about biology gives me a massive codon.
Yes. I want everyone to leave tonight with a massive codon.
I got one right now.
They said in something that I think is wrong, by the way. They said that the cell makes, let's see, which one? Cells spend a lot of time making proteins. How does it do so? All right. And then it says you would see the cell make about 20 different basic building blocks called amino acids. And first of all, I don't know about prokaryotes and if that's what we're still talking about here, but eukaryotes, I don't think the cells make the amino acids. I think you derive the amino acids from, say, the foods you eat. Now, that being said, there are essential amino acids because they are not ones we make in our bodies. We have to ingest them. That's where we get a lot of our protein. That's why we have to eat protein. It's because we have to eat these particular amino acids in our diet because our bodies cannot generate them. So cells do generate some amino acids, but they don't generate all 20 that are essential to our building blocks. So we have to eat some and we can make some. So that's a lie. I'm just saying. Tryptophan, you have to eat tryptophan. I wrote them down. Histine, leucine, isoleucine, lysine. Oh, I can't read that. I can't read my handwriting. Methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, and tryptophan. Woo!
Tryptophan is an amino acid?
It is.
Did not know that. Progress.
Nice. Thank you. I'm glad.
God,
I'm glad we could help with that.
Enjoy. That was free of charge.
Ooh, even better.
I hope that they're going to start using
Yeah.
that in their meetings. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to this evening's program. We'll be all sharing.
Let's see. Anything else about this? I mean, I have so many notes.
We're going to talk about energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this was fun. I was glad I looked this one up again.
Let me continue reading. Where were we at? Why do these facts matter?
Sure.
The complex molecules in the simplest living thing cannot reproduce alone. Outside the cell, they break down. Inside the cell, they cannot reproduce without the help of other complex molecules. For example, enzymes are needed to produce a special energy molecule called adenosine triphosphate, parentheses ATP. But energy from ATP is needed to produce enzymes. Similarly, DNA, section 3 discusses this molecule, is required to make enzymes. But enzymes are required to make DNA. Also, other proteins can be made only by a cell. But a cell can be made only with proteins. Microbiologist Radu Popa does not agree with the Bible's account of creation. Yet in 2004 he asked, how can nature make life if we failed with all the experimental conditions controlled? He also stated, the complexity of the mechanisms required for the functioning of a living cell is so large that a simultaneous emergence by chance seems impossible.
Seems that way.
Well, Radu Popa does not agree with the Bible's account of creation.
Which the person who broke down all the resources in the back was like, I could find nowhere in this person's article that they mentioned anything about the Bible whatsoever. Like, they never said that they don't agree with anything. They were just writing about their idea. So
Right, like, damn, can't even talk.
Can't even talk. Okay. So much to say. Okay, let's see. So we're back to the chicken and the egg argument. If protein needed to make enzyme to make ATP, but ATP is needed to make enzyme, how? If DNA required to make enzymes, but enzymes required to make DNA, how? Right?
Yep. Must be impossible.
This is a predicament that we're in. What will we ever do?
I guess we just give up and say it must be God.
God must have done it.
What made God? Oh, now we're back to the chicken and egg argument.
Yeah. Let's see. I wrote some stuff here. Hold on a second. I'm just trying to find my notes. So I went and looked up the ATP process. And by the way,
goofy.
If you look up, what is it? Not animal cells, plant cells that have chlorophyll that make energy from sunlight, they can make ATP, I think, in less steps than an eukaryotic cell does. The Krebs cycle, what is it? The citric acid cycle. What are all the names for it? Like, I don't know if you guys ever learned all of that stuff, but my God, I went back and was like looking through the book. I was like, I can't do that. I did that in biochem and shoot me. Like,
I learned it last year and I immediately forgot most of it. Like,
right.
So
it's a chemical reaction that like triggers itself to keep going, and in the process uses some energy and gives more energy. And so it's an energy producing thing because you're either taking in the energy from the sun to make carbs, or you're taking in energy from plants that have carbs to make energy. And exchanging hydrogen atoms and electrons constantly, and that's it. That we're generating electricity in the cell, basically. And so there's super like refined ways and efficient ways, right? Like the efficiency is always desired. If something can be done with less energy, that's almost always preferred. We don't want to, right? I don't want to exert a bunch of energy for something if I don't have to. And so we've got a system that's probably evolved over long periods of time that is a lot more efficient than maybe it was originally. And maybe you didn't need enzymes to make ATP. Maybe there were easier ways to make the reactions a long time ago. I don't know. The Earth was different billions of years ago. And then just like with the chicken and the egg thing, as I was going back and doing all this research, I realized like when you go to the very, 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 very basic building blocks and you start with atoms and you work your way up, you get organic molecules that then you can make nucleotides with first you make nucleic acids, then you make nucleotides, then you string them all together and you make DNA, which is really a polymer. Fuck. Polymer is just a bit like a fancy word to say that all of them string together and form an even bigger, massive molecule. Same with proteins.
A long chain of atoms.
Right, a long chain. There's carbon polymers. There's for proteins, I think they call them polypeptides. There's ones for lipids, and then I'm drawing a blank, but there's like super long carbon chains and polymers, like is it plastics maybe? Anyway, the point is there's carbon, there's carbs, there's lipids, there's amino acids, and there's nucleic acids. And then they start getting bigger and bigger from there. Don't you think if they evolved together, they evolved a way to interact with each other? I mean, DNA is also a sugar polymer because its backbone that makes it have that specific shape is a sugar phosphate. It's a ribose. It's a sugar polymer mixed with nucleotide polymers. DNA, right?
Jehovah did it, I guess. Sorry.
I know, I'm excited because it actually makes more and more sense to me. So as I'm reading this dumb thing, it's forcing me to learn it, and I'm going,
I know,
but
I
struggled. Now I get it.
I was just thinking, like, how many people are gonna read this magazine, and unless you already have a college education on this topic, or you have a lot of experience in investigating claims, you're not going to do anything besides just take their word for all this stuff. I mean, it just makes me want to go to sleep.
Sorry, I'm boring you all.
No, not you. The magazine. If all we did was just read this, I would
Night, Jay.
We're almost done, I promise, guys. Let's go to the next one because I think whatever this diagram, this illustration is up here, up top, I think it's no, it's the argument they just made, right? This is the poor foundation, right? Is the chicken and the egg.
If you scroll down a little bit, Ryan, to that one right there, yeah. If this skyscraper must collapse because it has a flimsy foundation, must not the theory of evolution collapse because it has no explanation for the origin of life?
It must collapse.
First of all, false analogy, because that's impossible. You can't have a skyscraper built upon a poor foundation. You would never be able to build the skyscraper if you had such a flimsy foundation. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a skyscraper be made, but they start from the ground up. Really? They start with the foundation, and if that doesn't work, the whole building falls down. So
I think they start at the top and then threw it all in at the end of the process.
Right. So this is the perfect analogy. They're saying a perfectly fully finished skyscraper got put on top of a flimsy foundation. And that is what they did. They took a very well researched amongst many, many scientists over many decades and said, evolution, look at this beautiful polished skyscraper. And we put it on flimsy data. But they put it there.
Right?
Like,
They set the scenario up. They're the one who created the illustration.
I think this is a better analogy of their
Talk about being
argument
trapped.
than the whole brochure. Anyway, this foundation that they're talking about, I mean, there's so much also in regards to like junk DNA, right? It's just like information that seems to be useless, but potentially could just be this old data that we've copied and carried forward that has some of this basic stuff like cells. I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer. I'm just saying it's residual, it's vestigial organs, it's tails that we don't have anymore. It's, you know what I mean? Like, we have vestigial organs that appear to have diminished and gone away. That's what is it called? Not your gallbladder. You need that. What am I talking about? Your appendix.
Appendix, yes, appendix.
Is thought to be a vestigial appendage or organ of some kind. We probably used to have tails. That's maybe a tailbone. Anyways, what's that?
I said our coccyx came from former tails, possibly.
Yes. You just want to
Sounds
say
like saying that word.
coccyx.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Coccyx. Let's see. We're almost done. What is this last bit?
Hang on, a few more minutes, class.
Okay. What do you think? The theory of evolution tries to account for the origin of life on Earth without the necessity of a divine intervention. I wrote a note and said, I'd say it's more accurate to say that people have found the God did it answer unsatisfying and just so decided to find a scientific answer that fits better. However, the more that scientists discover about life, the less likely it appears that it could arise by chance. I'd say that claim hasn't been proven yet. To sidestep this dilemma, some evolutionary scientists would like to make a distinction between the theory of evolution and the question of the origin of life. That's cheating. Can't do that. No, can't do that. But does that sound reasonable to you? I don't know. Just saying God did it is like kicking the can down the road. Where did God come from? How did he do it? You know, like it doesn't answer. They're saying you can't make the distinction between the theory of evolution and the origin of cells. But God did it is okay. Same. Okay. The theory of evolution rests on the notion that a long series of fortunate accidents produced life to start with. Then it proposes that another series of undirected accidents, I just said natural selection, ? Produced the astonishing diversity and complexity of all living things. However, if the foundation of the theory is missing, pulled the rug right out under you, what happens to the other theories that are built on this assumption? Just as a skyscraper built without a foundation would collapse, a theory of evolution that cannot explain the origin of life will crumble. After briefly considering the structure and function of a simple cell, I don't know why it's in quotes, because it's not really simple. It's so complicated. Right. What do you see? Evidence of many accidents or proof of brilliant design? If you are still unsure, take a closer look at the master program masturbator that controls the functions of all cells. Wait, huh? Who's the I think they're saying DNA is the master program that controls all the functions of all the cells. I don't know if that's accurate, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
If you're not convinced by this simplistic breakdown of how cells work, let's oversimplify DNA. Maybe that will help. Is chapter 3. I just want to say that if they're going to say that the theory of evolution is missing, and that if you can't explain every single detail of the origin of how life got there to explain, like the theory of evolution just makes sense when you really start looking at it about like how life has changed, how creatures have changed. To then just be like nitpicky, like, well, if you can't figure out exactly what happened all the way down to when the first
Right.
molecules formed
You have to
from
throw
the
everything
Big
else out.
Bang, then it
It's
didn't
all
happen.
trash.
I think this is a logical fallacy too. We throw everything out because one thing doesn't make sense. Oh no. Money. Money. Thank you, Dan. We'll go to
Money. Oh goodness.
good cause. I think even Jehovah's Witnesses can't deny evolution because, like, there's been so many like microevolution arguments. You know what I mean? Like, well, there's macro and micro evolution, and you guys know what I'm talking about. Have you heard people say this?
Yes. Yeah, I'm aware of the argument. Yeah.
Right. And they'll say that it's because the Bible says that some animals can turn into a kind, like from one kind, but there's this perfect barrier at some point where there's a line in the sand. Ooh, more money. Oh, you should wear a lower cut shirt or
I know, right?
This is exciting. All right.
That's so kind
Talk
of
about
Very
proteins.
nice.
Is that all I had to do? Well, sheesh. I'd have
Why
been
are my
doing that.
TikToks going? Oh, yeah. I think that evolution makes sense, and it's really just the scale at which you apply it to and the time frame in which you're able to conceptualize change, right? It's hard to conceptualize 4 billion years. 4 million years is very challenging for me to wrap my brain around.
Like I just looking at plants and how like they will freaking come back to life. Like I do think life finds a way. I think evolution.
Great Ian Malcolm once said.
Yeah, so much more sense to me.
This is Ian Malcolm right here. You can't see it very well. It's my Jurassic Park art that I have in my room.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I don't feel like they address their argument. I don't feel like they've made anything close to the claims of their argument. They haven't really talked about the science very well. The sources they're doing, like they're just one source and one line, and they're only sourcing it just so they can quote one tiny little part or make a comment about it. And I just like this is pretty sad.
This is very frustrating to parse through for sure.
Anyways, so we'll go real quick. The facts and the questions. I'm just gonna be straightforward with you. Let me know if you think those facts are facts or opinions. Somebody else want to read?
Oh, sure. Fact. The extraordinarily complex molecules that make up a cell, DNA, RNA, proteins, seem designed to work together. That is for sure an opinion.
It's not facts? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Seem. That's like that's an assumption.
Yes. Designed.
Or they evolved over
Right.
time to work the way they do. Seems more logical to me, but okay.
All right, then I'll let you know. I scratched that out and I rewrote this word, this sentence, and I said that DNA, RNA, and proteins seemingly evolved alongside and became more complex in a complementary way. I don't know that that's a fact any more than theirs, but it's at least a little less biased.
I don't think that the word "seem" can exist in a factual statement.
Yeah, no, it's if it seems like it.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's oversimplifying it anyway. But what's the question? Do we even care? What seems
more likely to you? Did unintelligent evolution construct the intricate machines depicted on page 10? Or were those machines the product of an intelligent mind?
My goodness. They're comparing these machines to living. Yeah, I don't get the argument. To me, it doesn't make sense.
Basically, they're telling you what to think, that it is a machine.
It's a bit of a leading question, yes. I also put intelligent mind, put in parentheses minds, like plural. Like you don't know that it was one intelligent. What if it's an intelligent hive mind? What if, it's a committee of gods that got together?
Right?
What if it's
and, workshopped what the human ear was going to look like? I don't know. Let's put them little wiggly things over there. I kind of rewrote it. I said, did evolution by way of natural selection construct the intricate machines depicted on page 10, or were those machines the product of an intelligent minds? If intelligent, how do we know how many were involved, and could there have been a committee or a collective hive mind?
What was that?
The other one doesn't seem like a fact either. You want to read that one?
Yeah, some respected scientists say that even a simple cell is far too complex to have arisen by chance on Earth. There's a lot of problems with that. One of them is the scientists that are talking about cells couldn't have arisen on Earth. I don't think the argument is that it's because it's too complex. I think their argument is that the conditions weren't right on Earth. I never have heard that it's too complex just to arise on Earth, but not too complex to arise somewhere else.
I also think it's funny that they're respected scientists when they can make it seem not plausible, but they're not respectable when it suits their needs to say that they don't make plausible ideas. And is it really plausible what the scientists said? But then later we're going to say they're respectable because they dogged on somebody else's idea. I feel like it's even a simple cell is far too complex to have written by chance. I feel like it's a fact that someone might have said that, but saying it doesn't make it a fact, right? Some scientists say that a simple cell is far too complex to have risen by chance on Earth, but that doesn't make that a fact. That's just saying somebody else also had an opinion.
It is a fact that somebody else thought that.
But is it a fact? It is a fact that somebody said that somewhere. That is correct.
Some people
One day somebody said it somewhere. I'm certain.
All right, what's the last question? Let's get this shit over with.
If some scientists are willing to speculate that life came from an extraterrestrial source, what is the basis for ruling out God as that source?
Evidence that God exists, I suppose?
At least an extraterrestrial source is a source that exists within nature, whereas God is a supernatural explanation. But
I mean, we all agree you can't scientifically prove a God exists. But an extraterrestrial source is something that's vague enough that could fit, like it's more plausible that something, because basically it's just anything outside of our Earth.
right.
That if it could come from something outside of our planet or our solar system, that's a much wider, broader stroke than saying this book that says Jehovah is the right. Perfect. Nailed it. I woke up. This book was given to me. I have all the answers. Yes, evidence. If we were to also like just admit that it's very difficult to rule out God as a source, it doesn't mean that it gives it equal weight, right? So we could rank it, but like where does it rank with other creation gods? Like we'd have to put the gods in a separate category because there's other ideas of extraterrestrial sources for life, and so we'll have to rank those as well. Like I'm just saying, even if we say, okay, God could have done it, which God?
Mm-hmm.
Which God did it? What's the likelihood that it was one God versus another God? That
Right.
it was.
Odin for sure.
Could
There's
be the Vedic gods.
cultures throughout time that all have answers to this question, so I guess we would have to give them all equal weight.
Right.
How would we weigh that? How would we determine which is a more plausible option? I don't know. Anyways, it just has a lot of questions.
Not a lot of answers.
Questions.
More
Yeah.
questions than answers.
Well,
I'm about ready to go, guys.
next week we have chapter 3, which is where did the instructions come from? Like, where did they come from? How did we get them? It's mostly just going to be about DNA. I have briefly read through this section. I have been bonering up on my cellular biology.
Bonering. You've had a coat on this whole time?
Yep. Look at that coat on.
Anyway, there is a whole series of chapters with great detail just on the cell. And then we go into genetics. And genetics has twice as many chapters on it. So, all right. I know what I'll be doing next week. So,
Noise.
I'm going to be a pro. All right.
All the kids are saying it, the cool kids.
Pro coat on her.
Burn her up.
All right, get your coat-ons on. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Try not to be so long next time, but if you guys are enjoying this and you like more detail, like I have to tell you, I took so many notes, you guys. I have diagrams. I could show you. This could be a long time. Just saying. But if you want to see any of my unhinged notes or my diagrams or anything, I could show them next time. So let me know.
Awesome.
This is fun. I'm having fun.
Yeah, thank you for guiding us tonight through our scientific education journey.
All right. Well, have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming, and hopefully we'll see you next time. And thank you for the donations, everybody.
Thank you so much. You guys are too cool. Dan D and LOH.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
We love you.
Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, before we go, I gotta show you my shirt. Can you guys see my shirt?
Oh yeah.
Tyler's not here, but he made me this shirt. And if you guys, if you don't know who Simon Phoenix is, you're missing out, is all I'm going to say.
From what movie?
Does anybody know what movie? What movie is Simon Phoenix from? My favorite. Love it.
What is
Should
it?
I tell him?
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes. Yeah, thank you. See, I knew somebody would know in the chat. Demolition Man.
Oh, that's been on my list of things to watch too. I haven't seen it.
Now you've got to. Tyler Rickman made this.
I like the shirt. It's really dope.
He drew it.
Well done, Tyler. We're proud of you. Jehovah
I'm
certainly blessed you
beta
with the talent.
testing. So yeah, he couldn't be here, but I'm promoting his work. He's a
For
great
sure it
artist.
made it.
He'll be punished. Don't worry.
He'll be punished for sure. For sure. Okay, that's it. I just want to say that. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Like,
All right.
share.
Have a good
Goodbye.
night.
See you next week. Bye.
Oh, I like this thing. I should do it. I should like it.